This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe. I'm here to tell you all to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming and remember to turn on notifications. You will be the first to know all about the latest Dragon Ball news and information.
Oh, did you say UnrealEntGaming? Oh, I love his channel.
God damn it, Zelbon, stop rubbing your nipples and get back to bed!
Universe 2's female fighters now step onto the plate as the Tournament of Power continues, with Vegeta having to face off against Universe 2's Brienne, all while Android 17 is faced off against the mystery opponents and having to battle against Universe 2 as well, where as we go deeper within the tournament, as the tournament confirms weaker fighters having to be tossed out, making room for the strongest to emerge. What's going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to my Dragon Ball Super episode 102 review, entitled The Power of Love Explodes, Universe 2's Little Witch Warriors, leading into next week's exciting episode of Dragon Ball Super episode 103, in which we understand, based on spoilers, that Universe number 2 is going to be revealing their true colors against Universe number 10, alongside having Gohan face off against various different fighters, as we do see Universe 2 significantly in action in this episode, which is ultimately going to be building up into next week's episode. And again, if you guys are new to this channel, be sure to go on ahead and punch that subscribe button and turn on notifications, that way you guys can be notified whenever a Dragon Ball video is posted onto this channel, hashtag notification squad. And of course, if you guys are not following me at Twitter, be sure to follow me at Twitter for all latest in Dragon Ball updates and news at UnrealEntGaming to be up to date with all latest in Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Super episode 102 is now officially in the history books, and having to build up until this very point, we finally get to see Universe number 2 in action, in which again was very satisfying to see, considering how much they've been building Brienne up to be this very credible fighter in this tournament. But even as she emerges, we start the episode off exactly where we left off, with the Omni King having to swipe through his god pad and reviewing all the eliminated fighters from the tournament. Now, there are a significant amount of fighters that have been eliminated, and based on the Omni King swiping, we finally get to see all the characters be revealed, as we also get to see Goku running around, and we see how Brienne pretty much regroups and pretty much assembles all her teammates and saying it's best for us to perform this from a high enough place. And I really can't take these girls serious, I mean, especially having to look at them, and we see how Jerez, the female god of destruction, praising these girls, and seeing Goku and Vegeta walk on by, and they were kind of like stumbled as to what was happening as the magical trio introduced themselves and transformed with the keyword formation. And Goku, it's funny how Goku looks at this, because Goku's like, are they powering up? Because Goku has no idea what they're doing. And this reminded me a lot of the Powerpuff Girls, I don't know about you guys, which made it that much more enjoyable for me. And we see how Beerus thinks that this elaborate transformation process is kind of stupid, and we see his reaction. He's just like, his eyes are kind of dimmed down, and Jerez, you know, she's looking at Beerus and she's introducing the girls, and literally the only person who seems to be excited here is Goku. And then out of nowhere, what I truly enjoyed about this episode was, as they were trying to transform, out of nowhere we see this energy blast hit them, and it was Android 17. Finally, someone who can care less about, you know, someone else having to transform and demonstrating their power. And, you know, right then and there, Goku asked 17, did you do that? And 17 having to say, yeah, I mean, they were wide open, what's the problem? See, this is where Goku's at fault. Why is Goku so concerned about letting these people transform? And what's funny is the girls literally come back down from the cliff and they approach 17, and now they're arguing. And we see how Toppo comes out of nowhere. And what I find weird about this entire situation is how Toppo, given his character, pretty much broke his character as he was talking to 17, and Toppo even having to tell 17, everyone's claiming and chewing out 17 and interrupting the transformation, because Goku is eager to see their full power, which makes Beerus angry, because why are you so concerned in letting these people transform? So ironically enough, Toppo was actually against this, Goku was against this, Android 17 sits down, Goku proceeds to let them transform. It was such a weird moment, and Beerus is pissed. And I love the overall tone that Beerus took, because he's just like, what in the world are you doing, Goku? And it's pretty much Goku's fault for even allowing these girls to further transform. And I have to say, Brienne is the ugliest out of all of them, but either way, we see how the transformation complete, and Jerez is introducing them as, you know, the trio of powerful soldiers. And Krillin thinks that, you know, they looked a lot cuter before the transformation, in which case I guess you could say they kind of did, especially for Brienne's case. And Universe 2 is ecstatic, the Universe 2 warriors are ecstatic, everyone is happy, and the only people that seem confused is, you know, Beerus and Krillin and even the Supreme Kai. For some weird reason, if you look at the Elder Kai, he seemed a little bit perved out by this, and even seeing, you know, the other universes like observe this, this, everyone was just like, what the heck is going on? Dispo and Toppo were blushing, which I thought was really stupid because it took away from at least Toppo's character, because we don't really know anything about Dispo, and Goku being the first one to challenge Brienne and challenging the other fighters, it made sense. But what I think kind of killed it for this episode, in my opinion, was seeing Toppo pretty much stand up for this. I mean, this has nothing to do with justice, and this contradicts Toppo's character early on, as Toppo is fighting for his universe and his survival. So what does Toppo even care about if these girls transform or how they look and he's blushing? That was really stupid. But then we see Brienne, you know, just shoot out all these hearts on the field, and Goku's like beginning to smell it, and he smells like love in the atmosphere. And even Frieza, what's funny about Frieza is he's fanning himself off. And again, I mean, the powers of these girls allow people to feel infatuated, which again, I kind of understand why everyone is blushing and so infatuated by this. But Beerus thinks that Universe 2 has been hiding their powers up until now, in which we understand that, you know, they have some sort of an effect as to what they're able to do with their abilities, and Vegeta is not impressed by this, because either way, we see how Vegeta's standing there, and the only person I think that, you know, was really funny throughout all this was kind of Master Roshi, because finally the pervert Roshi comes out of him and he begins to get super perved out. So I truly enjoyed how Roshi got on top of the rocks and he's beginning to cry out and scream, you know, in this sense of like love. And Gohan, I loved how Gohan was really calm, cool, and collected. He wasn't the only one, you know, that was acting like all concerned and stuff, because Piccolo as well, he preserved himself as being, you know, calm, cool, and collected. But even Roshi having to see what he was doing was pretty cool, and Brienne goes on the attack. So Brienne was just, you know, dishing out all of these hearts. The entire field was pink. It was engulfed in pinkness, so all of the black smoke and stuff was gone, and now everything is engulfed in pink. So you can actually understand what's happening here, and the idea that Brienne right now has taken control of the Tournament of Power. Again, with the exception of Jiren and Hit, who are not yet involved, we get to see how all these hearts are flying all over the place. And again, I kind of understand where they're coming from, and what I love about this is how Jiren steps in and he's smacking these hearts all from, you know, Brienne's direction. And once again, Jiren put an end to Brienne's rampage, because he pretty much let out a shot that cleared out all the smoke, followed by Vegeta, who stepped in wanting to challenge Brienne again, having to go back to the Dragon Ball Super intro. That's the overall first ever depiction of them fighting, so it kind of made sense in seeing that as Vegeta challenged Brienne early on. Now, cue the opening of the Dragon Ball Super intro and seeing Vegeta fight Brienne as a Super Saiyan. Now, here's the thing. There's something about Brienne that as Vegeta was about to punch this fat-ass Teletubby in the face as she was beginning to roll in his direction, he kind of stopped. He kind of had like this look on his face. He was like, and then he kind of like flew away. But even then, Brienne is going on the attack, and we get to see how Piccolo's caught up in this. And Brienne, honestly speaking, to me at least, didn't seem, you know, very impressive during this. I'm sorry to say, there was nothing about her that I personally enjoyed. I mean, granted, she was formidable in this form of combat, but either way, as the battle continues, Lugi can actually alter her ki at will, giving Goku a hard time, because the person that Goku was fighting seems to have the ability to control their ki very, very well, in which again, Goku wasn't really having that big of a hard time because he was fighting in base form. He wasn't really doing anything that was outside of his base form, but there was one instance where he was gonna punch one of the ki blasts, and the ki blast like stopped right in front of his hand, and then it moved away and like smacked him in the face. So that's the kind of ability that Universe 2 has in controlling their ki and spreading the power of love. And even while this is happening, we get to see how Kakusa is actually fighting Android 17, and again, Android 17, with the exception of having his clothing torn, isn't really having that big of a deal. I mean, obviously, based on what 17 did against Goku, you can only imagine that he should not have that difficult of a time fighting these people. But either way, what I really enjoyed about this fight is the way 17 was just blocking with one hand. He was dodging effortlessly. She was trying to bite him. She was trying to do whatever she could in order to get 17's attention, in order to throw 17 off. And Jerez this whole time is playing the cheerleader, which I enjoyed the overall interaction of the goddess in seeing her pretty much cheer on her fighters, as everyone else was kind of cool, calm, and collected. But 17, I think, aside from Vegeta, was definitely amazing in this episode, as we get to see a bit more from 17, because overall we've seen stuff from Goku, and again, this wasn't that big of a Goku-ish episode. All that other stuff is going to happen down the line, but either way, we see how she's trying to quote-unquote hunt down 17, and she goes for the kill, but is stopped by the barrier, because 17's barrier can really do damage, as we see her attack 17, and once he does this, I mean, he pretty much has control over the fight, as early on, as she's attacking him, she's clawing his clothing, she's clawing his pants and everything like that, but 17 seems to be unaffected because once he uses the barrier, he pretty much protects himself off, in which case we see how Gokus actually says, so you pretended to be weakened, I'm only confident in my stamina, you're the one who's the prey, I am the predator. So 17, even though early on he was getting beat up, he had little to no damage on him, his facial expression pretty much said it all, and 17, as I said before, is a very formidable foe, especially to anybody who opposes him, because he is that powerful as a character. Even as he was pretending that he was hurt, there was no effect on him, and I love his barrier, and hopefully enough, we get to see more from his barrier early on, because once he used it, you know, Gokuska pretty much stopped in her tracks, and that pretty much rendered her useless right then and there. And even towards its conclusive round, we see how 17 pretty much tosses her nearly out of the ring until she gets saved, and then she gets thrown in by one of her allies, in which she hits 17 so hard. 17 was caught off guard, and as he got hit, he flew right through the kaching, he flew right through the dirt, and what's interesting about this is the fact that one of the characters that assisted Kosuna in, you know, before getting ringed out was she had wings, which allows her to fly, and the Kaioshin and the Goddess of Destruction were like just mesmerized by the idea of them helping each other and stuff, because what's funny about this is Beerus was so hype that 17 was about to ring her out, and then she gets thrown right back in which she, you know, retaliates against 17, causing them to pretty much have the upper hand early on as that is happening. So 17, he's in the dirt, but he doesn't really look like he's damaged that badly. I mean, yeah, he has Bruce Lee claw marks on his chest, but his facial expression is just like, really? That was it? And, you know, he's laying there until Android 18 shows on by, and I would say to an extent pretty much like kind of crapped on 17 for being in the position that he was in, but then 17 was able to turn the tides and pretty much wringing everybody out. He actually wrung out the same girl that saved Kokuska from getting, you know, wrung out in the first place, the girl with the wings. So he pretty much hit her so hard, she didn't just fly, you know, out of the void, she flew into the Kaioshin, which was great. And in which case we see how, you know, one of the other females charges right towards 17, and 17 took the fight so serious, he kneed her right in the face, and he's telling her like, yo, is this all the power you have? And we see how they're fighting on by, and 17 is actually pushing her near the edge of the ring until, of course, fat ass Ree Brienne shows on by. I'm sorry guys, I am just not digging Ree Brienne at all. This chick was not only is she ugly, but I feel like the whole like atmosphere of Ree Brienne kind of throws so many things off. I get that the fact that she's supposed to be the warrior of love and all this, you know, crap, but either way, you know, having her interrupt 17's fight did make sense, but 17 should not have any difficulty in ringing any of these bitches out in the first place. But what's interesting, and I never thought that anyone would do this, is actually they were able to punch 17 so far out, he landed on one of the light barriers that were on top of the tournament, pretty much providing light, and he came back on down as he blasted, you know, Kokuska on down. And this was definitely 17's episode, because as he was coming back down, he pretty much unleashed a ki blast so ferocious, he pretty much just knocked her not only out of the ring, but next to her Kaioshin as well. So all the other girls are like beginning to panic and stuff. They're all like, what's going on? Because now multiple fighters from Universe number 2 are starting to get ringed out here. So this is a big problem, because now Jerez is starting to dread the fact that her fighters are starting to get wrung out. So overall, this episode as a whole, it was decent. I wouldn't say it was the best episode among last week's or the week prior, but it definitely was enjoyable. I felt as if more could have been said, but they needed to give more time for the other universes to develop, which I completely understand, in which case by the end of this, Ree Brienne is very angry at 17, and we see her power up, and 17 doesn't look concerned at all, in which builds into Dragon Ball Super episode 103, in which we all thought that there was going to be some sort of merger, and that didn't really happen. So again, some of the scans may be a bit off, but either way, by the end of it, Ree Brienne was angry, her eyes were like lit up in fire, and we see how the timer pretty much begins to sink as we now have a definitive, you know, battle between Ree Brienne and Android 17 going into next week's episode. But I would like to know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What are your overall thoughts on this episode? What are your overall thoughts on Ree Brienne as a whole? What are your thoughts on her engagement with Vegeta? And what are your overall overall thoughts building up until Dragon Ball Super episode 103 later on next week? What are your overall thoughts on which universe might be the second one to go? Thank you all for watching. If you guys are Dragon Ball fans, don't forget to punch that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever a Dragon Ball video is posted onto this channel. If you guys are stoked and ready for Dragon Ball Super episode 103, then be sure to go on ahead and slap a like down below. If you guys are excited in seeing the overall build up and seeing the strongest fighters emerge and having to finally wage battle against each other, we do have spoilers on Hit and Goku going into Dragon Ball Super episode 104. So what are your overall thoughts on that? And what are your overall thoughts on this episode? What are some pros and cons that you felt were introduced in this overall setting? Thank you guys for watching. As always, tune back in for the breakdown review, as we are going to be breaking down the episode in its entirety. So make sure you guys go on ahead and tune back onto the channel for that, and I'll be seeing you all down the comment section below. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Peace.